The massive council chamber floated in the darkness of space, its crystal walls reflecting the light of 1,000 stars. Inside, representatives from 2,000 different alien species sat in their designated positions, waiting for the human to speak. Some had scales, others had fur, and many existed as pure energy contained in shimmering fields. They all shared one thing in common. They believed in the Galactic Council's way of doing things. Ambassador Taiwan walked into the chamber with slow, measured steps. His black suit looked plain compared to the elaborate robes and armor worn by the alien delegates. He carried no weapons, no devices, and no documents. His hands were empty. His face showed nothing. The Prime Arbiter rose from the central platform. It resembled a massive crystal formation that pulsed with inner light. Its voice echoed through the chamber without sound, speaking directly into every mind present. Human representative, you stand before the Galactic Council. For 300 cycles, we have maintained peace across 50 galaxies. Every species that joins our great civilization accepts certain responsibilities. They follow our laws. They participate in our economy. They contribute to our shared security. In return, they receive protection, technology, and access to markets beyond imagination. Taiwan said nothing. He simply stood there, waiting. The Prime Arbiter continued. Your species has refused to sign the integration accords. You have rejected our technology sharing programs. You have declined membership in our defense network. This cannot continue. Today, you will choose. Submit to galactic law and join us as full members. Accept economic sanctions and limited trade status. Or face complete isolation from all interstellar commerce and technology exchange. The chamber fell silent. Every species in the Council's history had negotiated when presented with these options. Some bargained for better terms. Others asked for time to consider. A few had even demanded special privileges. But all of them had eventually agreed to something. Taiwan looked at the Prime Arbiter. Then he looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many delegates as possible. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet but clear. No. The word hung in the air like a physical thing. Confused whispers rippled through the assembled delegates. Several species activated their translation devices, certain they had misheard. The Prime Arbiter's light flickered. Perhaps you misunderstand. We are offering you 3 options. You must choose one. No, Taiwan repeated. We choose none of them. We will not submit to your laws. We will not accept your sanctions. And we are not afraid of isolation. A delegate from the Thermal clan stood up, its body radiating heat that warped the air around it. You cannot simply refuse. Every species must choose. Taiwan turned to face the delegate. Why? The question seemed to confuse everyone. The Thermal delegate sat down slowly, unsure how to respond. The Prime Arbiter's voice became harder, more forceful, because that is how the Galactic Council functions. We negotiate. We compromise. We find solutions that benefit all parties. This has been our way for centuries. That is your way, Taiwan said. It is not ours. Humanity will chart its own course. We will accept no external governance. We require nothing you offer. We have nothing to discuss. A counselor from a species that looked like floating jellyfish drifted forward. But what about your colonies? What about your trade routes? What about access to jump gate networks? You need these things to survive. Taiwan smiled slightly. Do we? The Prime Arbiter's light pulsed angry red. You are being unreasonable. We are the Galactic Council. We represent the accumulated wisdom of thousands of species. We offer you a place in the greatest civilization ever created, and you respond with disrespect and arrogance. I have shown no disrespect, Taiwan said calmly. I have simply answered your questions honestly. You asked us to choose. We have chosen to walk our own path. You asked us to negotiate. We have nothing to negotiate. These are facts, not insults. Another delegate stood, this one resembling a massive insect with crystalline wings. Perhaps the human does not understand the consequences of isolation. Without council technology, your species will stagnate. Without council protection, you will be vulnerable to pirates and raiders. Without council markets, your economy will collapse. Is this what you want for your people? Taiwan's expression never changed. What we want is freedom. Freedom to make our own decisions. Freedom to succeed or fail by our own choices. Freedom to determine our own future without asking permission from others. This is worth more to us than any technology or protection you offer.
Ow.
The Prime Arbiter seemed to struggle for words. In 300 cycles, no one had ever spoken to the Council this way. Finally, it spoke again. You are making a terrible mistake. We will give you 1 solar cycle to reconsider. Return to Earth. Consult with your leaders. Think carefully about what you are throwing away. Tae-Won shook his head. There is nothing to reconsider. Our answer will not change in 1 cycle or 1,000 cycles. Humanity stands alone. He turned and walked toward the exit. The entire chamber watched in stunned silence as the human ambassador simply left without being dismissed, without bowing. Without showing any of the traditional signs of respect that council protocol demanded, as the doors closed behind him, chaos erupted in the chamber. Delegates shouted at each other. Some demanded immediate military action. Others suggested economic warfare. A few, mostly the newer members who remembered their own difficult integrations, sat quietly and wondered if the humans knew something the rest of them had forgotten. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Fleet Admiral Ji-woo sat in the command center of humanity's defense network. She watched the live feed from the council chamber and allowed herself a small smile when Tae-Won delivered his simple refusal. She touched a control panel and opened a secure channel. All fleets, this is Admiral Ji-woo. Proceed to Condition Yellow. I want every ship ready to deploy within 6 hours. Defense platforms to standby power. All personnel to their stations. This is not a drill. Across the solar system, human warships powered up their engines. Weapon systems came online. Shield generators hummed to life. Humanity had known this day would come. They had prepared for it. In a laboratory deep beneath Earth's surface, Chief Scientist Dayun reviewed data from her latest experiments. The Council thought humanity was primitive, dependent on their technology. They had no idea what humans had been building in secret for the past decade. She activated a communication device. Project Horizon is ready for deployment, she reported. Project Sanctuary is at 90%. Project Thunder is awaiting your authorization. The response came quickly. Hold all projects at current status. Let them make the first move. We respond, we do not initiate. Ayun smiled. Understood. We'll be ready. On a transport ship halfway between Earth and the nearest human colony, Captain Haijin read the message from home base. The Council had been told. Humanity's position was clear. Now everything would change. She walked to the bridge and addressed her crew. We've just declared independence from the Galactic Council. Things are about to get interesting. I need everyone sharp and ready. We're going home, but we might have to fight our way there. Her crew didn't look afraid. They looked determined. Across human space, from the smallest outpost to the largest city, the same message spread. Humanity had refused to negotiate. They had chosen their own path, and they were ready for whatever came next. The Council fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system, exactly 1 week after Tae-Won's departure. 400 warships from 12 different species formed a perfect blockade formation. They positioned themselves at every jump point, every trade route, every possible entry or exit from the system. Nothing would get in or out without Council permission. Commander Velther of the Crystalline Armada commanded the blockade fleet from his flagship. He had fought in 17 campaigns and negotiated the surrender of 32 different species. He expected the humans to crack within days. They were a young species, barely 2 centuries into space travel. They would panic when they realized they were truly cut off from the galaxy. He was wrong. On Earth, life continued as normal, perhaps even better than normal. Agricultural Minister Biora stood in the middle of what had once been the Sahara Desert. Now, it was covered in massive vertical farming towers that stretched toward the sky. Each tower produced enough food to feed 1 million people. How long can we sustain the colonies? She asked her chief engineer. The engineer checked his datapad. With current production, indefinitely. We actually have surplus. The colony ships that left last month carried enough supplies for 5 years, plus the equipment to build their own farming installations. Biora nodded. Good. Increase production by 20% anyway. I want reserves. The council had assumed humanity depended on trade for food. They were wrong. Humans had learned long ago never to depend on others for survival. In orbit above Earth. Chief Engineer Dongman watched as the final fusion reactor came online. The massive facility hummed with barely contained power. He opened a communication channel to the surface. Reactor 7 is operational. Total power output is now at 300% of pre-blockade levels. We're actually producing more energy now than when we had access to council power crystals. The response came from Admiral Ji Woo. Excellent work. How are the defense platforms? Dongman smiled. Every single one is fully powered and ready. The council ships are maintaining a distance of 500,000 kilometers. They can see our platforms, but they haven't scanned them yet. When they do, they're going to be very surprised. The council had sold humanity energy technology 10 years ago, but only the basic models. They kept the advanced systems for themselves, ensuring other species remained dependent. What they didn't know was that human engineers had taken those basic systems apart, understood them completely, and built something better. 3,000 light years away. Captain Hejin looked at the tactical display on her ship's bridge. Her colony transport, the Perseverance, was trapped. A council patrol fleet blocked the direct route home. The safe jump routes would add months to their journey. Her 10,000 passengers were getting nervous. Captain, we're receiving another message from the council patrol, her communications officer reported. They're offering safe passage if we agree to return to council space and await instructions. Haijin shook her head. Decline. Send our standard response. We are a human vessel on a peaceful journey. We have committed no crimes. We demand free passage. Her navigator looked worried. Captain, we're running low on supplies. If we can't find a safe route home soon, we'll have to consider their offer. No, we won't, Haijin said firmly. She pulled up a star chart and highlighted a region marked in red. What do you see there? The navigator leaned closer. That's the Razor Belt. It's an asteroid field with extreme gravitational fluctuations. Navigation computers classify it as impassable. Ships that try to jump through it get torn apart. Navigation computers classify it as impassable, Haijin agreed. But navigation computers follow rules. They can't imagine solutions that exist outside their programming. She pointed to a narrow corridor through the belt. I've been studying this formation for 3 years. There's a path. It's narrow, and the timing has to be perfect, but it's there. Her first officer stood up. Captain, with respect, that's suicide. The gravitational shear in that belt would rip us apart in seconds if we're even slightly off course. Haijin met his eyes. Do you trust me? The first officer hesitated, then nodded. With my life, Captain. Good. Because that's what I'm asking for. We're going through the Razor Belt. Prepare the ship. I want every system at maximum. Every passenger in safety harnesses. And I want our best pilot at the helm. She smiled slightly. That would be me. Back on Earth, the Council sent their first negotiator. Ambassador Krell was a veteran diplomat who had resolved hundreds of disputes. He arrived in a small shuttle, broadcasting peaceful intentions. He requested a meeting with human leadership. Admiral Ji Woo met him in a plain conference room. No ceremony, no formality, just 2 people sitting across a table. Krell spoke first. Admiral, this blockade serves no one's interests. Your people are cut off from galactic civilization. Your colonies are isolated. Your economy is stagnating. All of this can end if you simply agree to resume negotiations. Ji Woo poured herself a cup of tea. She didn't offer any to Krell. Our economy is not stagnating. Our colonies are not isolated, and we are not interested in negotiations. But surely you must see reason, Krell insisted. The Galactic Council is not your enemy. We want to help humanity reach its full potential. By controlling us, Jiwoo said quietly. By making us dependent on your technology, your trade routes, your infrastructure. By ensuring we can never make a major decision without council approval. That is not help. That is subjugation, dressed in polite words. Krell's expression hardened. You cannot survive alone. No species can. Then we will be the first, Jiwoo replied. Is there anything else? Krell stood up angrily. You are fools. When your people are starving, when your ships are breaking down, when you realize you cannot maintain your civilization without council support, you will beg us to return. And we may not be so generous next time. Gil remained seated. Thank you for your time, Ambassador. You can see yourself out. Over the next 3 months, the council sent 11 more negotiators. Each one arrived with threats or promises or careful logical arguments about why humanity needed the council. Each one left empty-handed, frustrated by humanity's polite but absolute refusal to discuss terms. Counselor. Yol watched all of this from his position on the council. He was old even by his species' long-lived standards. He had seen the council integrate hundreds of species, but he had also seen what happened to species who resisted too hard. His own people had fought integration. They had lost. They had submitted. And they had never been the same. Something about humanity's resistance felt different. They weren't fighting. They weren't threatening. They were simply living their lives and refusing to acknowledge council authority. It was a kind of resistance he had never seen before. He opened a private communication channel and sent a carefully encrypted message to a human contact he had been developing. The message was simple. I want to understand. Why are you not afraid? The response came 6 hours later. Because we have nothing to lose but our freedom. And freedom is not something we will ever give up, no matter the cost. Yil sat in his chambers for a long time, thinking about those words. His people had given up their freedom to survive. They had accepted council rule to avoid destruction. And for 300 cycles, they had regretted it. Maybe the humans understood something his people had forgotten. On the edge of the solar system, Commander Velthar reviewed his reports. The blockade was perfect. Not a single ship had breached it. The humans were completely isolated. According to every model, every simulation, every historical precedent, they should be desperate by now. But Earth continued to thrive. Their power output was increasing. Their industrial production was rising. Their communications showed no signs of panic or shortage. If anything, humanity seemed more unified and determined than ever. Velthor didn't understand it, but he was starting to feel the first small seed of doubt. 6 months into the blockade, something unexpected happened. A small merchant ship from the thermal clans arrived at a human mining colony in neutral space. The ship carried rare metals that humanity needed. In exchange, the humans provided advanced medical technology. No governments were involved. No official approvals were granted. Just 2 groups doing business, the council found out 3 weeks later. The Prime Arbiter summoned the Thermal Clan's representative and demanded an explanation. It was private merchants, the representative explained, their heat signature flickering with nervousness. We cannot control every ship in our territory. They acted independently. But everyone knew the truth. The Thermal Clans had quietly authorized the trade. They needed the human medical technology. Several high-ranking thermal citizens had been saved by human treatments that council medicine could not provide. When faced with a choice between council rules and saving lives, they chose lives within a month. 3 more species were trading with human colonies through intermediaries. The council's unity was cracking. Engineer Jae-sung sat in a secure meeting room on a neutral station. Far from council oversight, across from him, sat a delegation from the Mineral Confederation, a species of silicon-based life forms who had been council members for 200 cycles. Show us, the lead delegate said, its crystalline body resonating with anticipation. Jae-sung activated a holographic display. A detailed schematic of humanity's new faster-than-light drive appeared, rotating slowly in the air. This is what we call the independent jump drive. It requires no exotic materials, no rare elements that only exist in council-controlled space. Everything needed to build it can be found in any standard solar system. The delegates leaned forward, studying the design. One of them spoke in a voice like grinding rocks. How is this possible? Council jump drives require crystallized void energy. That can only be harvested at specific locations. Because the Council designed them that way, Jae-soon replied. Not because it's the only way to achieve faster-than-light travel, but because it ensures dependency. If you need void crystals, and the Council controls all the void crystal deposits, then you need the Council. Expanded the schematic. We approached the problem differently. We asked ourselves, what if we don't use void crystals at all? What if we generate the necessary energy through other means? It took us 15 years, but we found an answer. Another delegate spoke. And you are showing us this why? What do you want in exchange? Jae-sung smiled. Nothing. We're showing you because you asked to see it. If you want the complete technical specifications, we'll give them to you. Free of charge. No strings attached. The delegates looked at each other in confusion. In Council space, nothing was free. Every technology transfer came with costs, obligations, and restrictions. Why? The lead delegate asked simply. Because we believe every species should have the right to move freely through space, Jae-sung answered. We believe technology should liberate, not enslave. And because the more species that can build their own jump drives, the less power the Council has to control everyone. The meeting lasted 6 more hours. By the end, the Mineral Confederation had the complete specifications for humanity's jump drive, along with detailed construction guides and support documentation. 2 months later, they would quietly begin building their own ships using the human design. On Mars. Director Soo-ben walked through the massive shipyard complex that had been built in secret over the past 8 years. The facility was enormous, carved into the red planet's crust and extending deep underground. Hundreds of human vessels were under construction, each one designed with a specific purpose. How long until the fleet is operational? She asked her chief of construction. The first wave of 50 ships will be ready in 3 months, he replied. They're all military vessels. Fast attack ships, primarily. Designed to counter Council destroyer tactics. Soo-ben nodded. And the second wave? 6 months. Those are the heavy cruisers. We've incorporated every weakness we've identified in Council military doctrine. Their ships are powerful, but inflexible. They rely on standard formations and predictable tactics. Our vessels are built for adaptation. She looked at the closest ship, a sleek predator of metal and energy. Good. We're not starting a war, but if they bring one to us, we'll be ready. Back on Earth, In-ho prepared for the most important trip of his career. He was humanity's chief diplomat, though his job had nothing to do with the Council. His mission was to speak directly with individual species, bypassing official channels entirely. His first stop was a station controlled by the Aquatic Federation, a collection of water-based species who had been Council members for generations. He met with their trade minister in a meeting room filled with water, wearing a specialized breathing apparatus. Thank you for seeing me, In-ho said. His voice transmitted through the water. The minister, a creature resembling a massive octopus with bioluminescent patterns, pulsed with cautious colors. Your reputation precedes you, human. You have been traveling to many species, speaking words that make the Council nervous. What do you want from us? In-ho spoke carefully. I want nothing from you. I came to offer you something. Freedom. The minister's colors shifted to confusion. We have freedom. We are Council members. We participate in galactic governance, do you? In-ho asked. When was the last time your people made a major decision without Council approval? When did you last change your laws without consulting the Prime Arbiter? When did you last trade with someone the Council had not authorized? The minister's colors darkened. The Council provides structure, coordination. Without them, there would be chaos. Perhaps In-ho agreed. Or perhaps there would be diversity, innovation, true independence. Tell me, Minister, do you know that 3 species have already begun trading with humanity? Not through Council channels, but directly. And do you know what the Council did when they found out? What? Nothing. Because they realized that if they punish those species, more will follow. The Council's power is not in their military might. It's in the belief that you need them. Once that belief breaks, everything changes. The minister swam in slow circles, processing this information. What exactly are you offering? Inho pulled out a data device. Trade agreements. Technology sharing. Cultural exchange. Defense cooperation if you want it. All without council oversight. All without asking permission. We're not asking you to leave the council. We're just showing you that you don't need their approval to talk to us. The meeting lasted 2 hours. Inho left without a firm commitment, but he could see the minister thinking, questioning, wondering. That was enough. Seeds had been planted. Counselor Yule watched all of these developments with growing alarm. In council chambers, most representatives dismissed humanity's actions as meaningless. A few independent species trading with humans would not collapse the galactic order. The council had weathered worse, but Yule saw the pattern. He understood what humanity was doing. They weren't attacking the council directly. They were making the council irrelevant. Every species that learned to build human jump drives needed the council a little less. Every independent trade agreement weakened council economic control. Every cultural exchange showed species that they could interact without council mediation. He requested a private meeting with the Prime Arbiter. The crystalline being received him in its personal chamber, a room of perfect geometric beauty. You worry too much, old friend, the Prime Arbiter said. The humans are insignificant. A brief disruption. They will either join us or fade into isolation. They are not fading, Yule said urgently. They are growing. And worse, they are teaching others to grow without us. Do you not see the danger? The Prime Arbiter's light pulsed with certainty. I see a primitive species playing at rebellion. When they realize they cannot maintain their technology without our support systems, they will return. They always do. But what if they can? Yule asked. What if they have actually achieved independence? What if they can offer other species the same? Impossible, the Prime Arbiter declared. We have governed for 300 cycles because we provide what others cannot. Security, stability, progress. Humanity offers only chaos and empty promises. Yule left the meeting unsatisfied. He returned to his quarters and did something he had never done in 300 cycles of council service. He sent a message to Ambassador Taewon. My species wishes to discuss independence from the council. Can humanity help? The response came within hours. Just one word. Yes. The council's patience finally broke. 6 months of blockade had not worked. Diplomatic pressure had failed. The humans continued to thrive, and worse, they were spreading their independence to others. The Prime Arbiter authorized military action. War Master Thrall commanded the strike force. 50 of the Council's most powerful warships, representing 7 different military traditions. He was a veteran of 100 battles, a strategist whose tactics were taught in Council military academies. He had never lost an engagement. His orders were clear. Approach Earth. Demonstrate overwhelming force. Demand immediate surrender and negotiation. If the humans refused, disable their defense platforms and orbital facilities. Do not kill civilians, but make it absolutely clear that resistance was futile. The fleet entered Earth's solar system in perfect formation. Thrall broadcast on all frequencies. Humans of Earth, you are in violation of Galactic Council authority. You have refused legitimate governance. You have corrupted other species with promises of false independence. This ends now. Power down your weapons. Surrender your defense network. Prepare to receive Council oversight. You have 1 standard hour to comply. On Earth, Admiral Jiwoo sat in the command center and smiled. She had been waiting for this moment. All platforms to full power. All fleets to defensive positions. Let's show them what they're actually facing. Across Earth's orbital space, on the Moon, on Mars, throughout the asteroid belt, defense platforms came online. But these were not the basic weapon systems the Council had seen before. These were weapons that humanity had been developing in secret for a decade. Thrall's tactical officer, stared at his display screen in disbelief. War Master, I'm reading energy signatures that... This can't be right. According to these readings, the humans have more than 3,000 active weapon platforms. And the power output on each one is... It's higher than our own ship weapons. Thrall leaned forward. Scan again. There must be an error. The scan confirmed it. Earth was not defended by a primitive network of basic weapons. It was defended by an integrated system of advanced platforms, each one capable of precision targeting. Each one powered by fusion reactors that shouldn't exist. Each one armed with weapons that matched or exceeded Council military technology. How is this possible? Thrall demanded. Our intelligence reported that humans had minimal defensive capabilities. His second-in-command spoke quietly. Our intelligence was based on what the humans allowed us to see. Everything else was hidden, built in secret. They've been preparing for this confrontation for years. Thrall studied the tactical display. His 50 ships were powerful, but they were facing an enemy that had prepared specifically for this moment. Every weapon platform had overlapping fields of fire. Every position was mutually supporting. And according to his tactical computer, the humans had targeting solutions locked on every single Council ship. He opened a communication channel to the human fleet. I wish to speak with your commander. Captain Sung-ho appeared on the screen. He sat in the command chair of the human dreadnought, Indomitable, the largest warship humanity had ever built. Behind him, the bridge crew worked with calm efficiency. I am Captain Sung-ho. I command Earth's defense fleet. You have entered our space with hostile intent. Leave now, or face the consequences. Thrall tried to regain the initiative. You cannot win this confrontation. We have 50 warships. The finest vessels in Council service. Surrender now and avoid bloodshed. Sung-ho's expression never changed. War Master Thrall, let me explain your tactical situation. You have 50 ships. We have 3,000 weapon platforms, each one locked onto your vessels. We have 200 defensive ships positioned throughout the system. We have point defense networks that can intercept 97% of your missiles. And we have weapons that your shields were not designed to stop. He leaned forward slightly. You came here to demonstrate Council power? Instead, you have walked NTO, a trap. Your ships are too close to retreat quickly. Your formation is predictable. And your captains are following a tactical doctrine that we have studied for years. We know every move you will make before you make it. Thrall felt something he had not experienced in decades. Fear. Not for himself, but for the fleet under his command. His tactical officer had just finished running combat simulations. The results were devastating. In every scenario, the Council fleet suffered catastrophic losses. You are bluffing, Thrall said, trying to sound confident. You would not dare fire on Council vessels. The retaliation would destroy your entire species. Perhaps Sung-ho agreed, but you would not be alive to see it. Neither would anyone in your fleet. War Master, we did not start this confrontation. You came to our home with weapons ready and threats spoken. We are simply defending ourselves. If you fire, we will destroy you. Every single ship. It will take approximately 43 seconds. And yes, the Council might retaliate. They might send 1,000 ships to Earth, and we will destroy those too. He paused. Or you can turn around and leave. Report to the Council that humanity is not defenseless. Tell them that force will not work. And perhaps finally, they will understand that we meant what we said. We will not negotiate. We will not submit. We will stand alone. The standoff lasted 14 hours. Thrall's ships remained in position, weapons powered but not firing. Earth's defense network remained locked on, waiting. Neither side moved. During those 14 hours, Thrall received constant communications from the Council. The Prime Arbiter demanded he attack immediately. Other counselors urged caution. Some suggested retreat. The Council was divided, uncertain, afraid of the consequences either way. Finally, Thrall made his decision. He had not survived 100 battles by being foolish. The tactical situation was clear. If he attacked, he would lose his entire fleet. The humans were not bluffing. Their confidence was real, backed by weapons and tactics that matched Council capabilities. All ships prepare to withdraw, he ordered. Maintain defensive formations. We are leaving. The Prime Arbiter's voice crackled across his communication system. War Master, you will attack immediately. That is an order. With respect, Prime Arbiter, I will not sacrifice my fleet in an unwinnable battle, Thrall replied. The humans have capabilities we did not anticipate. They are prepared for war in a way that makes conventional assault suicide. If the Council wishes to conquer Earth, they will need a different strategy. He closed the channel before the Prime Arbiter could respond. His fleet turned and began the slow withdrawal from Earth's solar system. As they left, Thrall took one last look at the planet on his display screen. The humans had won without firing a shot. They had demonstrated that they could defend themselves against Council military power. And that changed everything. On Earth, Admiral Jiwoo watched the Council fleet retreat. She opened a channel to all human forces. Stand down from full alert. Return to standard defensive posture. Well done, everyone. Today we proved that humanity can protect itself. Captain Sung-ho remained on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the Council ships disappear. His first officer spoke quietly. Do you think they'll come back? Eventually, Sung-ho replied, but not with 50 ships, and not with the expectation of an easy victory. We've changed the equation. From now on, they know that fighting us costs more than they're willing to pay. Far from Earth, on the Council station, Counselor Yule prepared to take the most important step of his life. He had watched the confrontation. He had seen humanity stand firm against overwhelming authority. And he had made his decision. He sent a formal message to his people's homeworld. The time has come to leave the Council. Prepare for independence. The humans will help us. Across the galaxy, 40 other species received similar messages from their own representatives. The Council's authority was crumbling, not through war, but through the simple realization that independence was possible. The Prime Arbiter sat alone in its chamber, trying to understand how everything had gone wrong so quickly. For 300 cycles, the threat of force had been enough. Species had submitted rather than fight. But humanity had called that bluff. Now everyone could see that the Council was not as powerful as it claimed. The foundation of Council power was cracking, and nothing could stop it. 2 years after humanity's refusal to negotiate, the galaxy looked very different. The Galactic Council still existed, but its membership had dropped from 2,000 species to fewer than 600. The rest had chosen independence. Director Dayun stood before a massive assembly of alien scientists. They had come from 40 different species, all eager to learn about human technology. She activated a holographic display that showed detailed schematics of everything from fusion reactors to faster-than-light drives to medical equipment. Everything you see here is freely available, she announced. No patents. No licenses. No fees. We are publishing all of this information on an open network that anyone can access. You can take these designs, modify them, improve them, share them with others. Technology should belong to everyone, not locked behind corporate or governmental control. A scientist from a species of floating energy beings raised a question. But why? You could sell this technology, make enormous profits, control the market. Why give it away? Dayun smiled. Because we learned an important lesson from our own history. When technology is controlled by a few, it becomes a tool of power and oppression. When technology is shared freely, it becomes a tool of liberation. We want every species to have the capability to build their own future, not depend on us or anyone else. The assembly erupted in discussion. Some were skeptical, looking for hidden motives. Others were excited, already planning how to implement these technologies. But all of them were taking the information, studying it, preparing to use it. In another part of the galaxy, Ambassador Tae-wan sat across from the Prime Arbiter. It was the first face-to-face meeting between them since that initial confrontation 2 years ago. The Council had finally requested dialogue, not to demand compliance, but to ask a simple question. Why? The Prime Arbiter asked. Its crystalline form had lost some of its brightness, dimmed by 2 years of watching its authority dissolve. Why did you refuse all negotiations? We could have found a compromise. We could have given you special status, greater autonomy, whatever you needed. Why did you insist on complete independence? Taewon considered his answer carefully. Because we learned from our own history. For thousands of years, my species fought over territory, resources, and power. We built empires and watched them fall. We conquered and were conquered. And through all of that, we learned one critical lesson. Every time we negotiated away our sovereignty, even a small piece of it, we regretted it. He leaned forward. The Council offers stability, security, and prosperity. But the price is freedom. You ask species to give up the right to determine their own future in exchange for protection and technology. Some species accept that bargain willingly. They believe the benefits outweigh the costs. But humanity does not. We would rather struggle alone than prosper under someone else's control. The Prime Arbiter's light pulsed slowly. But look what your choice has caused. 47 species have left the Council. Our great civilization is fragmenting. The stability we maintained for 300 cycles is collapsing. All because you refused to negotiate. No, Taewon said firmly. Your civilization is changing because those 47 species chose to leave. We did not force them. We did not demand they follow our example. We simply showed them that independence was possible. What they did with that knowledge was their own choice. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. The Council's problem is not humanity. The Council's problem is that it was built on a foundation of dependence. You made species need you. You controlled resources, technology, and trade routes. You created a system where independence seemed impossible. And then we proved it was possible, and everything fell apart. The Prime Arbiter was silent for a long moment. What happens now? That depends on you, Taewon replied. The Council can continue as it is, governing those species who still choose to remain members. Or it can transform into something new. An alliance of equals, rather than a hierarchy of dependence. A place where species cooperate because they want to, not because they have to. The Prime Arbiter's light flickered with something that might have been sadness. You are asking us to give up everything we built. I am asking you to evolve, Taewon corrected. The old model is dying. You can die with it, or you can help create something better. On a neutral trading station, Captain Hijin commanded a small fleet of human ships providing escort services. But she was not protecting human vessels. She was escorting ships from the newly independent species, helping them establish their own trade routes, teaching them how to navigate without Council jump gates. A captain from the Mineral Confederation, one of the first species to leave the Council. Sil transmitted his thanks. Your people have been invaluable. Without your help, we would still be dependent on Council infrastructure. Hyjin smiled. You would have figured it out eventually. We just accelerated the process. And now that you know how to navigate independently, you can teach others. That is how knowledge spreads. That is how freedom grows. Her first officer approached with a report. Captain, we have 17 more requests for escort assistance. Species who are leaving the Council and need help establishing independent operations. We cannot handle them all. Then we find more ships, Hyjin replied. This is our purpose now. Not to build an empire, but to help others build their own futures. Every species we help becomes one more example of successful independence. And every example makes it easier for the next species to take that step. On a planet that had been under Council control for 200 cycles, Engineer Jae-soon worked alongside local engineers to build their first independent shipyard. The planet's leadership had chosen to leave the Council 6 months ago, and they were racing to establish self-sufficiency. This is the foundation, Jae-soon explained, pointing to the massive structure taking shape. Once this is complete, you will be able to build and repair your own vessels without Council assistance. It will take 5 years to reach full operational capacity, but you will get there. A local engineer asked the question that everyone was thinking. And when we do, what will you ask from us in return? Jae-soon looked surprised. Nothing. This is a gift. But surely you want something. An alliance? Trade agreements. Military support? If you wish to trade with us, we welcome it, Jasun replied. If you wish to form alliances, we are open to discussion. But there are no requirements. You owe us nothing. Our goal is not to replace the Council's control with our own. Our goal is to ensure that every species has the capability to stand on its own. The local engineers struggled to understand this concept. In Council space, everything came with strings attached. Help always had a price. But the humans genuinely seemed to expect nothing in return. The engineer asked simply. Jae-sung thought about it. Because we remember what it was like to be powerless. To depend on others for our survival. To have our future controlled by forces we could not resist. We do not want any species to experience that. So we help. Not for profit or power, but because it is the right thing to do. Counselor Yule stood on his homeworld for the first time in 50 cycles. His species had officially withdrawn from the Galactic Council 3 months ago. The transition had been difficult but not catastrophic. With human assistance, they had established independent infrastructure. They were building their own ships, generating their own power, trading with dozens of species without council. Mediation. He had been invited to speak to the Planetary Council about the decision to leave. Some citizens were angry, feeling that he had thrown away 300 cycles of stability. Others were excited, embracing their newfound freedom. Most were simply uncertain about what came next. I will not tell you this was the only choice, Yule said to the assembled crowd. Some species have remained in the Council and are content. The Council still provides value to those who choose to remain. But we chose differently. We chose freedom over security. Independence over stability. The right to make our own mistakes rather than follow someone else's rules. An elder in the crowd spoke up. Was it worth it? Are we better off now than we were under Council governance? Yule considered the question honestly. Ask me again in 50 cycles. Right now, we are in transition. Some things are harder. We face challenges we did not face before. But we also have opportunities we never had. We can make decisions based on what is best for us, not what the Council approves. We can innovate without asking permission. We can fail and learn without someone else dictating how we recover. He paused. The Council offered us a comfortable cage. The humans showed us how to open the door. Whether we thrive or struggle in freedom is up to us now. That is both terrifying and wonderful. The crowd was silent, processing his words. Then slowly, almost hesitantly, they began to applaud. Not everyone agreed with the choice. Most could see the value in having a choice at all. On the Council station, the Prime Arbiter convened an emergency session. The agenda was simple. Should the Council continue to exist in its current form, or should it dissolve? Dozens of remaining members spoke. Some argued for maintaining the old system. Others pushed for radical reform. A few suggested that the Council should simply disband and let each species go its own way. Finally, a young delegate from a species that had only joined the Council 20 cycles ago stood to speak. I have been studying the humans and their philosophy. I think we have all misunderstood what happened. The humans did not destroy the Council. They exposed a weakness that was always there. We built our civilization on the idea that species needed us. When that proved false, everything collapsed. The delegate continued. But perhaps that is not a bad thing. Perhaps we should have been building cooperation instead of dependence. Perhaps we should have been offering partnership instead of governance. The humans succeeded because they asked for nothing and offered everything. Maybe that is the model we should have been following all along. The Prime Arbiter listened to all the arguments. Then it made its decision. The Galactic Council will continue to exist, but it will transform. From this moment forward, we are no longer a governing body. We are a cooperative alliance. Species may join or leave freely. We will share technology openly. We will offer assistance without strings attached. And we will govern nothing except our own affairs. It was a revolutionary change. Some species left immediately, unwilling to participate in an organization without authority. Others stayed, curious to see if this new model would work. And a few species who had left the Council actually returned, willing to participate in an alliance of equals. 2 years after refusing all negotiations, humanity had fundamentally changed the galaxy. Not through conquest or force, but through example. They had shown that independence was possible, that cooperation did not require control, and that freedom was worth more than security. Ambassador Tae-1 stood on the observation deck of a space station, watching ships from dozens of species coming and going. Human vessels, former council members, newly independent species, all moving freely through space, trading, communicating, cooperating without anyone's permission. Captain Sung-ho joined him, looking out at the same view. Do you think it will last? This new order we have helped create? Tae-1 smiled. I do not know. But I know this. We gave them a choice. We showed them an alternative. What they do with it is up to them. That is freedom. That is what we fought for. Sung-ho nodded. Some of them will fail. Some will make terrible decisions. Some might even ask the council to take control again. That is their right, Tae-1 replied. We did not set out to create a perfect galaxy. We set out to create a free one. Freedom includes the right to fail, the right to make mistakes, the right to choose badly. All we did was ensure they had the choice. Far across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, species were making those choices. Some were thriving in independence. Others struggled. A few had already formed new alliances and confederations. The galaxy was more diverse, more chaotic, and more alive than it had been in centuries. And humanity watched it all with quiet satisfaction. They had not built an empire. They had not sought to control others. They had simply refused to be controlled themselves, and in doing so, had given others permission to do the same. The Galactic Council that had governed for 300 cycles was gone, replaced by something messier, more unpredictable, and infinitely more free. Not everyone was happy with the change, but no one could deny that the galaxy had been transformed, all because humanity had shocked the Galactic Council by refusing all negotiations, and in doing so, had shown the universe what freedom actually meant.